Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Founder Fundamentals. My name is Diana Senwasain, and I am the Marketing and Events Coordinator for Launch U, which is York University's entrepreneurship unit. I can't believe it, but this is actually the second last event in the series. It's crazy how fast time has gone by. So we started back in September with this. And I know some of you have actually joined us from the very beginning. So we really want to thank you all actually for joining us from the start. And we also do want to welcome the newcomers here. So if you are new, if you can type your name in the chat box so we can give you a nice warm welcome. And thank you so much for joining us today. I do want to mention that York University has so many diverse programs to support entrepreneurs that are completely free and open to anyone worldwide. And Innovation York Entrepreneurship at York University provides programming, workshops, and space to help entrepreneurs build, launch, and scale their ventures. So it is home to York University's Launch U, which is us, the LO Women Accelerator, as well as Y Space. Now, this workshop series, Founder Fundamentals, has really become a community staple designed to help aspiring entrepreneurs really build their startup. And this is the first time that LaunchU is hosting this series, so we are really excited to introduce it to our audience members worldwide. So I do ask this every time, but if you can type your location in the chat box, and let us know where you're joining us from today. That would be great so we can see all of the interesting places. Okay, so we've got some locals, of course, Toronto, Mississauga. Hi, Matt from Australia. We've got Oakville, Richmond Hill, India. Another local person. Yep, Mississauga again, Caledon. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We really do appreciate you joining us from really all corners of the world. Now, although the series is completely virtual, the 11 workshops are really meant to provide hands-on learning and provide you also with the resources that you can actually use to help build your startup. Now, most of you know that if you do attend, or if you did attend at least 9 of the workshops, you will receive an Innovation York certificate of recognition, and those certificates will be issued after the last session that we have in the series, which is next week. So there's nothing that you need to do. We do record our attendance on Zoom. So as long as you attend at least an hour of each session, we will record that as attended. Now, this series could not be possible with so many people working behind the scenes. So I do want to take a minute to acknowledge our Associate Director of Entrepreneurship, David Kwok, who is in the chat, and he'll be helping answer any questions that you may have throughout the session. David has worked really hard to source all of the speakers and topics that we had for the entire series. So he's done a really, really great job, and he always does such a great job in the chat. So feel free to say hi to him there. I would also like to take a moment to thank our partners, the Markham Small Business Center, for supporting us for the entire series. And I would like to welcome Tiffany to say a few words about the Markham Small Business Center. Hey, Tiffany.
Hi, thank you, Diana, and a big thank you to David as well. My name is Tiffany. I'm representing the City of Markham and the Markham Small Business Center today. Like Diana said, Founder Fundamentals series has really become a community staple, and the City of Markham is proud and happy to continue to offer it to all of the entrepreneurs, not only locally, but like Diana said too, globally. I've seen people in the chat type in, yeah, Australia, Hawaii, Cleveland. It's amazing to see how far the reach is. I'm very excited and just really happy to see all these faces again. I'm also happy to introduce the next speaker, and I know Diana is going to give a little bit of introduction as well, but I will say that I have personally seen Agnes present several times. I always enjoy it. I always learn something. I always walk away with tools to implement and to teach, my other clients. So happy to introduce her or have her here again. If anyone is interested in the City of Markham services or Markham Small Business Center services, I'm going to type in our URL in the chat box. You can take a look at our events calendar and see what's coming up. We have amazing events similar to this that we're running throughout the year. And I'll type in my email as well. And if you have any questions about starting your business, in the city of Markham or starting your business in Ontario, let me know and I can connect you with the right person. Okay, so thank you very much. Enjoy tonight's seminar.
Thanks so much, Tiffany. And I just had a look at the chat and I did remember that it is Thanksgiving in the US. So I do want to wish our American friends a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you so much for joining us. And before I introduce Agnes, I do want to mention that we do have a lot of you joining us today. So if you can keep your mic muted, unless you'd like to ask a question, that would be great, just because we want to avoid some background noise that may, we may hear some background noise during the session. So we want to avoid that. If you do have a question, you can raise your hand or you can unmute your mic, and you can also use the chat function to type in your questions. Now with this session, we are going to go through different sections, and after each section, we will have a Q&A session during that time. So we'll leave all questions to the various sections that we've laid out during the session. So now I would like to introduce our speaker, Agnes Lan. She is the Director of Business Development at Change Connect. And Agnes helps organizations grow through change and leading the way in sales transformation for SMBs and enterprises alike. Agnes has considerable experience on the assessment, strategy, design, and implementation of business transformations in various industries with a focus on sale, customer focus, strategies, organizational design, sales efficiency, and transformation. So welcome, Agnes.
Hi, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving to my American friends here. How many of you guys are American? Let me see. Okay. Very good. What I love about American though is we do have some American clients, and American Thanksgiving means that we have a small break. So this came at a good time. So you'll see that I tend to be very casual in my presentations. This is my third time or fourth time doing sales fundamental. So I'm not new to this. And thank you, David, and thank you, Dee, and thank you, Tiff, for bringing me back. Love doing this. Speaking to each and every one of the small business owner or startup owners is meaningful for me, because I've been there, done that. And David knows I'm also starting up a separate venture right now. And you know what? I'm going through some growing pain that I thought I've been there, done that. I do this for a business that, you think it'll be less painful. I know it's not. Let me tell you, it's not less painful. So it's I'm starting up an app as well on the side. On top of our consulting business. So it is a journey, and I'm all things sales here. So if you guys have any questions, stop us at any time, type your question in chat. I'm an open book. If I can help you, we will get moving on it, and I will give as much as I can during our 1.5 hour together. Okay, and I probably last time we did an evening session, people were ordering pizza. So I promise I'm going to try to get you guys out of here by 7:30. Okay, thumbs up. Alrighty, so today's session is on some fun sales fundamentals, and what do you need to learn about sales as an owner, whether you're an owner, a startup owner, or a side hustle. Then I know a lot during COVID, there's a lot of people that just start up their business as a side hustle, and also whether you have been an owner in a small biz for a very long time. Just some fundamentals to go through to make sure we're refreshing what we have to do. I've divided today's session in 5 modules, 4 modules to be particular. Number 1 is about a sales assessment. So I want you to walk with me through some of the key component in sales. I think it's important because at the end of the day, I want you to be able to walk away with a gap list. And based on the gap list, be able to take away something that you can implement tomorrow. I don't care how small you think the incremental improvements are, everything adds up to, every inch add up to that goal at the end of the day. And, one of the advice that I've given very early on in my career is, you know what, Agnes, even if you're doing one small thing a day, that in a year, that's 365 things that you're doing for the business. So Try to do that one small thing. But the key today is obviously identifying what those are and be able to step, in the right direction, one step at a time every single day. So module 1 is all about sales assessment. After we do the self-assessment, then we're going to walk and create a sales plan. What does that look like? And what is, how many guys have a sales plan? What are the components of sales plan? What do we have to consider? Breaking that down a little bit to get you guys started. Module number 3 is all about investigating the various different growth strategy and what is appropriate. When we throw out the word strategy, it seems to be so corporate, but I want to make sure, especially with small mid-sized business, you guys realize that we only have limited resource, and when you have limited resource, you want to make sure that you use that resource wisely. And that's why even more so, small mid-sized business needs to have a strategy in place. What does that vision look like? And what are the tactics to go along with the vision in 2021? Module number 4 is all around buy-ins. Who is it that you need to talk to? Who do you need to make sure is on your bus? Right? If you want to row in one direction and your employees or your partners don't believe in it, then we have a problem, right? So we want to make sure that there's alignment. Last but not least, let's reflect on the day and see what is it that we can implement. Sounds good to you guys? Let's start. So first things first, I'm going to take off the projection and let me ask you guys, how many of you guys are solopreneurs or owner of a small mid-sized business? Use your reaction button to do a thumbs up or a clap. Wow. Okay. You know what? I'm really interested to see the rest of you guys. Are you guys in sales? Okay. Interesting. Alrighty. So I'm going to go through the gap list and perhaps think about, be honest to yourself. It's not like you're telling me what is the deficiency in your organization, right? The truth of the matter is, if you don't know what is there to work on, you can't come up with a list to work on it. So I want to spend a good chunk, maybe about 10 minutes today, just to understand where perhaps the improvement area could be. And most of our clients go through one of these as we first onboard them into our program. So there are 4 different things that we look for, and when we try to improve sales in any organization and to make sales scalable. One, of course, we want to assess and identify a strategic growth plan, whether they have a tangible and actionable tactics that they want to move forward with. Number 1, strategy. Number 2, we want to identify the current state or a plan to stabilize the longevity of your organization. There, I'm looking for whether you have system and processes in place. The third thing we'll be looking for in the assessment is whether you have identified current state and or a plan to scale your business through the talent management piece. There, I'm looking for whether you have a plan in place for people. Last but not least, we want to assess and identify the technology in place to add to your ROI and efficiency of the sales force. There's so much sales technology nowadays. There's no reason why people are still typing emails and reminding themselves when to put out certain email and then thinking what is the next email like. There are sequences and automation and workflow that actually automatically do it for you so that you're at the top of your game all the time. So I'm gonna ask you guys to pull out, a fresh workbook or a piece of paper, anything to write note down for yourself. The first section is about strategy. I want you to choose, and you need to tell me whether number 1, you have a process in place. Number 2, whether that process may or may not be in place, but there's room for improvement, or whether that, in your opinion, is not applicable to your organization at all. Number 1, in terms of strategy, we're looking at number 1, do you have something written down about your mission, vision, goals, and value? Who you are, why are you in business? What is it that you do? What are you trying to sell here? How do you want to conduct business? And what is it that you want to achieve? Is it on paper? Is it in your mind? Have you shared it with people? Second thing I want you to know to ask you is whether you have a strategic plan in place. Have you sat down to to do a 3 to 5 is or what we traditionally do, but nowadays we're really talking about a 12, 18-month goal. Do you have a strategic business plan in place to talk about number one, your process to you have a plan in place, and then further to that is do you have a process in place to review it on a regular basis? Are you on track? The business direction, is it clear? Is it communicated across all levels? Right? It's one thing for you to know what your business strategy is. Well, but if you haven't communicated with your employees, I don't know that we're going anywhere. Number three, do you have a historical SWOT analysis done? SWOT stands for strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. Do you have that as part of your business plan? Or even, sometimes when we talk to our clients, I don't want to update the business plan every year, but I certainly want to do a SWOT every year because your opportunity and threat is a bit different every year, especially this year, for God's sake. So do you have you sat down to do a SWOT analysis? What does the market look like? What is the internal competency? What is your core value? What is it that you have and no one else have that you really should be telling the world? Do you have that written down? And how often do you refresh that? Next is an understanding of the overall company position and in your industry. How competitive are you? Have you looked at yourself against your next competitor? Right? Someone that's like you, a direct competitor or an indirect competitor, a substitute of your service. I remember us last sales fundamental, actually. This is an interesting one. We had a really good conversation around this really healthy ice cream. And I got really sucked into it because, man, think about it. Someone is inventing healthy ice cream. I want to know all about that. And when we talked about competition, he was keen to say that I have no competition out there. I have no competition. But the ice cream is also, I think it worked out to be eight something a small tub because it's healthy. So, and I was challenging him a little bit too at the last sales fundamental because I was like, yeah, there might not be an exact competition to what you're building out there. I'm gonna take your word for it as you're the expert here, but at the same time, I can go out and buy a $2.99 tub of ice cream. That is whether you choose to believe it or not. I agree. As a founder, you might not want to think of that as a substitute, but it is a substitute. As people look at the shelf in the refrigerator in the grocery store, they're looking at your tub and they're looking at the same other tub that's $2.99. That is competition. After that, KPI, key performance indicators. Do you guys have that number one set? And do you guys now also have it tracked to talk about sales effectiveness? Do you know your conversion rates? Do you know your cost per leads? Do you know your sales volume? Do you know your average deal size? Do you know not only are you tracking lagging indicators, which is revenue, are you also tracking leading indicators? So this is all what I call the oh shit factor. So when your leading indicators aren't doing so good, your lagging indicator won't be good. So let's catch that oh shit factor in the front so that we're doing something about it before it become revenue, and then we can't do anything about how we netted that quarter or that year. Actually, now we're in year end. So last but not least, in strategy, we're talking about sales and marketing strategy. You have, I oftentimes when we go in any organization, I have a marketing department. Actually, a lot of times that marketing department nowadays is outsourced. So I have an outsourced digital marketing department. And then I also have a sales team in-house. Are they singing from the same song sheets? Or is it this, I'm going to do my landing pages, I'm going to run my campaign online, and then, salespeople, if I have a lead, I'll give it to you. Or, are they going to market the same way? Are they being effective in the company strategy? Are they putting out one front to the world? And can the sales and marketing activity and strategy be optimized? That's our section 1. How did everyone do so far? All right, next section. Next section is about people. Okay. Number 1, do you have a sales? I always say, when we talk about org chart, and I had a good conversation this morning with a VC backed startup. So I'm like, I was arguing with him. I'm like, do you have an org chart? He's like, yeah, I have an org chart. I have an org chart. It's on page 103 of my deck, and you see it. And I'm like, yeah, I saw it. It just lists a bunch of people under the word sales, and then no one really has a job description. No one didn't really have a KPI. Everyone just quote unquote sell. No sales manager, no direction, but everyone's supposed to bring something home, right? Bring the bacon home. That was the direction. So you have to look at your org chart and see whether there's clear understanding of reporting relationship throughout the org chart. Who reports into who? Do I have my one of the company we're working with right now, we talked about the idea of account manager versus business development rep, and realigning some of the expectation, because certain people are better outbound, certain people are better at relationship sell. How do you better organize your resource that you have so everyone's doing what they do best, right? If you have someone that's an account manager dialing all day, I bet you, yeah, he can do it, but is he going to be the most effective at it? So the whole idea of org and putting people in the right box is so important. After that, when you hire a salesperson, were they given a job description? Do you identify all the activities and responsibilities this person's supposed to do within the sales organization? Or you just say, go. Because a lot of startups, that's what they do. Well, I know I need sales. I know I, as a founder, hate to do sales, so I'll just hire a sales guy. And then, yeah, that person's supposed to know what he's supposed to do. Do they? Right? You want to update the job description to clearly outline what is it that you're looking for, present your expectation to them so they know, I need you to bring three discovery calls in a week. I need you to come back with 3 demos a week. And I really, ideally want to close about 1 deal a month, right? How does those metrics sound to you? Is it achievable? And really talk about the resource available to enable someone to do that, and have a workload analysis. Small startup, everyone does everything, it's fine. And when I talk about boxes and whatnot, I'm not saying you have to hire 7 people. I can have 1 person sit in 7 boxes. And as the organization grow, you're growing more systematically. You are, hiring someone into 2 boxes of the 7 that you do right now. And then I'm going to hire another person to do 2 of the 7 boxes at that time, 5 boxes that you do. And slowly adding layers to the organization that makes sense for the growth, right? If you sit in 7 boxes, it's really hard to scale the company. After that, performance management system. What are their goals? What are their KPI? Are they meeting their goal? Do they know that they're doing well? A lot of times when we first go into a lot of small mid-sized business, the boss don't want to hold the people accountable, the employee accountable, because they said, well, I don't want to give. First of all, they want to be liked, so they want to have a performance discussion. But I really have to talk my owners, really turn their beliefs around, because instead of thinking of performance, holding people accountable to performance as a tough conversation to have, honestly, a lot of employees welcome that, because if you don't know what yardstick you're measuring to, it's actually very tough to go to work every day. Because if you don't have expectations, then you are chasing after a different goalpost every day. And who likes that, right? People want to know that they're doing a good job. And they don't know that they did a good job if they don't know what the job is supposed to be in the first place. Any employee development plan. So what does that look like in terms of employee? Like, for example, we're huge on training, obviously, because we are a training firm, but we're also huge on internal training. A big part of our growth path for our consultants and our trainers is that, that's one thing for you to be good at training, good for you to be good sales managers, but there is a quantitative part that's associated with numbers, like I mentioned to you, but there's a qualitative part, right? If the consultants and the trainers on my team aren't people, they aren't able to change people's behavior. It doesn't matter how much metrics that we put in place. So all of our consultant and trainer are actually also go to change management courses. So a couple of them went 2 weeks ago actually to do a full change management course so that they're change management certified, they understand how to change people's behavior and really put everything in place, right, as part of their growth plan. I have another girl that, she's been with us for 5 years now, and she really elevated to be a full-time sales coach. And for the last 3 months, we're at York, so she's gone to our York executive program to improve her sales management skill set, to really round it out to see how she can continue. She comes back to me after her first 2 weeks. Oh, we do all these already. I know all these best practices, but it's still good for her to go see and be amongst other sales managers that may or may not know, so that she understands, you know what, I do know some of this, or no, I may not know some of this. So it's having an employee development plan is very important, because it's also very motivating for someone to know that you are investing in them so that they have a place in your future org chart. Here's a good one. Compensation plan. So, you know what? A good salesperson, actually, this is a very interesting topic. I was talking to another junior consultant the other day. We're talking about the whole idea of compensation structure and what it should look like. What is the best practice around sales compensation structure? Because in sales, if you are a salesperson and you're a good salesperson at that, you're going to be a type A personality person, likely, and it's going honestly quite commission driven, because that's what drives people into sales in the first place. And there is how you define a compensation plan dictate actually how they behave at the end of the day, because they have a one-to-one relationship. Do you want the sales team to act as a team? Then put more of the compensation as part of the team bonus when the team achieves a team goal, or a company achieve the company goal. Do you want a bunch of lone wolf working out there and just doing their best? Bring down the team bonus component, bring up the individual performance bonus, and bring up the commission they bring home on every deal. So the whole design of it isn't rocket science, but at the same time, there's many things to consider based on the behavior you want to see and also the culture you want to grow for your organization. Do you have a compensation plan that aligns with your company culture, with your company goal, with the way that you want the salespeople to behave? After that is going to be, you want to see them excel in the long term. Do you have a continuous improvement plan in place, right, of your people? Last but not least, does the sales manager understand what he or she's supposed to do as a sales manager? A lot of times, especially for my small mid-sized business clients, a lot of sales managers get promoted because they're the top sales rep. And fundamentally, when you look at the characteristic and trait of a top sales guy, they're actually vastly different than the characteristic and trait of a sales manager. So a lot of times, as a sales rep get quote unquote promoted to be a sales manager, they may or may not know what they're signing up for, and then they fail miserably as a sales manager because they don't want to deal with the administrative part of sales management. They don't want to deal with the babysitting part of the sales management, and then they realize, you know what, I didn't want to be a sales manager in the first place. So a lot of recognizing what a sales manager is supposed to do will help alleviate some of the stress that comes with promoting someone that may or may not be ready for that role. That's the people side. So far, so good? Okay, section number 3, process. Okay, process, I'm going to start off with a recruitment process.
Because we have a few questions. I don't know if we want to discuss them now or wait until the next section.
Let's finish the rest section and then we will just wrap up everyone's questions after that.
Perfect.
Thanks, everyone. So after that is process. Process, I'm going to start off with the recruiting process, because recruiting is utmost important for small mid-sized business, because recruiting the wrong person can actually be very costly. And it is very costly. So do we have a standard and repeatable sales recruitment process in place in terms of scorecard, interview questions, candidate scores, and the piece that's most important about scoring? I was talking to, like I said, my VC back, my startup this morning, he was talking about, me and my partner, there's only two of us that talks about recruiting, and we come to an alignment, and then we hire that person. No, but we don't write it down. We don't write it on a tracker. And I'm like, well, then that's fine. You guys come to an agreement, and you guys have some sort of, because you guys are both engineers, so you guys start off, you guys have a system in place amongst yourself. But at the same time, when you're thinking about continuous improvement, hire this type of rep, this is the score, this is the outcome. What do we have to tweak next time? You don't have a continuous improvement mechanism in place for recruiting. You just have our process in place for recruiting that's offline. So that's important. You want to have standard and repeatable onboard and offboard process for a hire. So you have that. You want to have sales dashboard established, not only just to hold people accountable, but also use it as a communication tool. This is a big one. A lot of company hires to do that. Put a sales playbook in place. What is the stage by stage best practice that we have to do? What is the customer centric customer journey that we have to follow through? Not what the rep wants to do in the sales pipeline, but what the client expects the rep to do in the sales pipeline. Actually, slightly different take on how you're going to approach it after you understand what that means. And really have a corporate playbook. It's not that you work with rep 1 and you get this type of deck, rep 2 you get this type of deck, and they may or may not hit the mark depending on what the sales rep is about. You have a company wide, it doesn't matter if you see Bob or Joe, everyone's going to use the same deck, everyone's going to sing from the same song sheet, right? Because people get sick, right? The last thing you want to do is, you have a deal you want to close, Joe is on vacation, or Joe is taking care of someone that's sick at home, and you can't close this deal, right? You don't want to do that. Really have all the best practices in place. After that this is a key one. A lot of my startups do cost plus model in pricing. Is your product, depending on what type of product is it a function of marketing, not just a cost plus model? How did you come up with the pricing of your model in the first place? Okay, pricing model in the first place. After that, team meetings. How often do you have it? Is it pre-scheduled? Is it ad hoc? What do you guys talk about? Do you guys have that? How often does your sales manager spend time on coaching and one-on-one sessions, strategize on different accounts, right? Really working with your sales manager to ensure, or you working with your rep to ensure that, the rep is not going at it alone. Because I always say, no one's going to sell the company as well as the founder does. They're the one that found it. They might not have the sales skill set, but they know how they want to sell to the world. After that, reporting, that's a no-brainer. If you're not measuring, you don't know the health of your organization. You don't know also predictability. I always talk to clients about, that's great. You know that we are full now. Can you predict that we're full next quarter? Can you predict that we're going to be full the quarter after that? You are carrying, let's say, a lot of startups, they are heavy on the operation side. So you're carrying 15 people on the engineering side. How do you know that these 15 people, you're going to be able to make payroll? After that is all about setting goals and expectations for your people. What are your activity budgets? How will you advance? How quickly are you advancing? What does your forecast look like? And we always say, especially this year, things might not go according to plan. So where are you going to pick up the escalation and or the corrective action plan, right? I was working with a client, and we talked about, if your revenue is not there this year, it's a respective cost of goods sold also reflecting that, so that bottom line, we aren't hurting that bad, right? Or do you want to take corrective action in that, we're not going to do any of the commitment that we have for virtual booth that we have, let's take all that out. We can't afford it this year, right? I have one client doing that, all marketing budget cut. But I also have other clients that says, business is doing bad. We're going to double down on marketing because now we want more volume. So I'm not saying just because revenue is down that the corrective action has to be cut. I'm saying you have to consciously, as a business, understand what is a corrective action and the escalation protocol when goals are not met. Last but not least, from a process standpoint, are we preparing for our sales calls? What is your sales call planning process looking like? And do we just wing it. Bear with me, last section of the day, technology. Okay, or last section of the assessment. Technology. Number one, automation. Are you automating your sales activity through technology? Like I said, if you still have reps that are cutting and pasting certain emails and then typing the name, man, the days of doing that's long gone, right? There are technology, and right now we're talking about this type of client. These are the 7 steps, 7 emails or touch point that we want to use to prospect them, right? Enroll them in a sequence. And then based on that sequence, when they reply, they opt out of the sequence. That should all be automated. You can't expect a rep to keep 100 people on their hot list and be able to manually do any of it. Something's gotta give, and it's going to be their numbers. But if the number is automated through technology, first of all, your rep is now not only have 100 on their hot list, they'll likely have 300 in the hot list, giving you a much better pipe. But also at the same time, things are not going to fall through the crack as easily if things are already scheduled, quote unquote. Next, I hope everyone's using some sort of a CRM. It's important for you guys to be keeping your central source of customer database somewhere, so that throughout the company, not only does your salespeople have access to it, but your customer success team also have access to it. Is there someone on your team that keeps an eye on sales enablement? Sales enablement is the ability to put efficiency in your sales system, right? You have a sales system. How can we make the sales system more efficient? And a lot of time, my sales enablement person really look at technology that allows them to do it. There's actually a case right now online that people are talking about. That's this guy that his organization was downsizing back in April because of COVID. And he came up with a brilliant idea of implementing Gong. And because Gong is a coaching listening tool, so that it sort of help sales manager be able to help their staff to be more effective on their sales call. And by implementing Gong, that guy that actually suggested Gong in April, his use case is that, fast forward in November, he got a promotion because sales have been so good since they implement Gong, have been so effective at closing deals because of implementing Gong, that management think he just killed it, right? So sales enablement it's a very interesting play in the sales landscape right now. Couple more. Templates. Are you using templates for frequently used documents, or are you guys typing up an email every time, thinking each client is unique? I'm not saying each client isn't unique. Even if you use templates, there is still a way to make it very personable and very personal. But are we at least, there's some template that we can use, because every single word in those emails now count toward conversion. And have we optimized those words, or are we trying to still come up with it every single time? Again, room for error, right? In terms of technology play, the idea of technology stacking, there are 5 areas of technology that people are using nowadays. Are you guys using any of it? Number 1, sales intelligence tool. Sales intelligence allow technology to feed information to you about your prospect, so you know exactly the right timing to go after a piece of deal, right? We all know sales is being at the right place at the right time. So you can't be at the right place at the right time if you don't have the intel to do it, to know what's going on with that person. Number 2, enablement, which I told you about, is efficiency in the sales workflow through technology. Number 3 is engagement. Whether that engagement tool is your social media, whether that engagement tool, I was talking to another client this morning about Salesforce community, right? Communication and having a platform to communicate between client, my customer success team, and my sales team. All right, what is the engagement looking like there? Type 4 of technology is pipeline, and in general, that speaks to CRM. The more sophisticated client also use a Power BI along with the CRM, so they can break down the data and really have it analyzed and fed back to management so they can do corrective action. Number 5, the fifth type of tool right now is the idea of management and coaching, like when I mentioned Gong just now. Online communication, internal and external. Are you guys using Slack? Making sure that, you know, the right hand know what the left hand's doing. If I have a demo team or a trial team going at it and the information is not passed on from my sales team, the use case is not passed on, I can bet you my demo team and my trial team aren't going to be very successful. Last but not least, are we using, you know, cloud services? Where are the documents stored? Especially because a lot of time right now, people are working remote. People need access to their document. Where are they? Are they at the fingertip of your sales team? And are we enabling our sales team to do their job properly? Okay, I'm gonna take a break here and take any questions you guys might have. Was that a good assessment? So first of all, did you guys learn something from that assessment for yourself? Thumbs up. Great.
So
Excellent.
I see that we have a few questions in the chat, so I guess we can get to those first. So Rose has a couple questions. How does your people strategy work with online sales? And she's mostly thinking about, you know, Amazon, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, things like that.
Yeah. So from a people strategy standpoint, when you talk about, you know, sales, a lot of times though, I have to admit that kind of it really sits with marketing. When a lot of times when we work with our client, we think of it as two distinctive chunks, just so that it's easier to manage. The one-to-many relationship, or outbound or inbound, but one-to-many relationship, that I define as marketing. My one-to-one relationship, where I have a personal relationship, I'm selling a client something and I need that one-to-one relationship to close, I call that sales. So rolls back to your online store, perhaps e-commerce, how can we sell? There's going to be people behind the engine, right? There's thought in terms of how to get people hooked on your product. Your people strategy has to be around that. Is there a process in place? Is our people really thinking about our client as they put themselves forward? When our messaging or corporate messaging, what are we selling, right? I always talk about the marketing piece too, when we talk about the messaging we put out there. The best practice is around 80% of what you sell, or the messaging out there shouldn't be a call to action directly to your product. It really should be to educate. If you look at the customer journey of when someone buy your product, you know, you start off with needs recognition, then education, shortlisting your product, and then really kicking it at the can, and then referral, or at the end, like close and then referral. So you think about that whole journey of what the customer goes through to buy you. The buying piece is only maybe 1/7 of the buying cycle, right? Majority of it sits in the education needs recognition stage. Do you have enough material out there that is not just call to action? Buy me, buy me, buy me, right? Will not work if the client is not going through the rest of the journey before the buy me part. Rose, okay?
Yeah, that was my question. Thank you for that. I did not really understand the difference between marketing and sales. So thank you for describing that to me in a term that I can understand. And I appreciate you going through the stages of the customer journey as well, because I guess I've just been confused about, well, I've just been confused. So, which is probably why I asked that question. Thanks for that.
I'm an open book. Any other questions?
Yeah, so I know, Rose, you had another question. Do you want to go ahead and ask?
I just can't remember what my other question. What was
okay, no worries. I can read it out. I have it right here. So she's asking for businesses just starting out, what sales activity should they be focusing on?
That's right.
Rose, do you mind telling me what kind of business you have?
Well, I have a couple. Okay, I'm in the thinking stage, so I don't really. I have some ideas. I don't have anything firm at the moment, so I'm just going to these sessions to
Understand.
Build up my knowledge, get a firmer foundation, so that in the future I just know what steps to take. So great. Just listening through your assessment, I think it's it sounds like to me it's great for a company that's sort of down the road further than I am right now. So I'm just thinking that if I'm just starting out right now, what should I be focusing on? Like,
Sure.
should I be focusing on the job description, the org chart, because that sounds fundamental? Or what are the other fundamental pieces that I need to
Hmm.
think about now?
I think if you're at that stage, couple of advice, just top of my head. Number one is what problem are you solving for your client or for your customer, right?
Okay,
I'm not saying you
yeah,
have to
I
be
think about that.
okay, good. So then what is your value proposition? What is your messaging out there? How, remember we talked a little bit about the idea of competition, right? What
Mhm,
is your edge over your competition? Do you have one? Where is your market position? Right? You got to be firm as a founder because you have to communicate that message out.
mhm.
Last but not least, after that, I do want you to start thinking about your numbers. Okay, I'm maybe because I'm an engineer by trade, I'm very number oriented. So
Mhm.
when you talk about you're starting your own business and knowing a product place, your product, how much is it that I want? It's very simple. Like when you start off, like in the beginning, right? If we're not VC backed, right? It's how much did I want to make? What is it that I'm going to sell? How much can I make that for? And then what is my margin and what is the volume I have to achieve in order to get what I want in the first place? Right?
Okay.
I think that has to be it has to be very firm in your mind. Not saying that you can't change it, just saying that you need a starting point. Because what I see a lot of startup founders do is that they just chase after numbers and they don't know what they're chasing, and then they take all type of business in. And then someone say, "Well, I want this function out. I want this function in my app, or in your app. I want this function in your app. I want you to do it before I buy you." And then they keep developing, right? They're developing it don't to no end. And then that person still may or may not buy you, right? So
Yeah,
you got to
so
have a good foundation.
yeah, so I am at the moment, I have a pretty good idea of the problem I want to solve. I'm still working on the value proposition side of things, but I guess I'm just trying to figure out other what are the other things I need to put in place so that I could build for success. I can launch for success. So I'm just
Rose, I'm
exploring.
going to park you for a second because I think section 2 would help you.
Okay, thank you.
So we have a few more questions in the chat. The next two questions are kind of related, so I'm just going to ask in terms of one question, but what kind of sales automation tools do you recommend, both free and paid? I don't know if you have any recommendations for that for the group.
So I'm going to actually send you guys a list after and said we actually did a study. I'll tell you how quickly the technology scene is changing in sales. I commissioned our firm to do a study on all the technology last July, July 2019, and they did one, and we have that published. So I'll send it to you guys. And I wanted to do a refresh in December 2019. And the gang came back and says, Agnes, it's like we have to do a fresh because there's so much mergers and acquisitions going on within that universe. 1/3 of the technology that we put on our July plan is either bought out or folded. So it's a very interesting place, but I do have my favorites. So first I'll send you guys the universe, but I will also send you a few of my favorites to go along with the automation. But first things first, there's a few fundamentals, right? Number one, you gotta have a CRM. If you don't have a CRM, that's the first thing I would invest in, right? The paid version of certain CRM have more automation functionality. That's number one. I like I said, I'm a report girl. So we also have Power BI in house, and a big one for me because then it breaks down a lot of our analytics. So there's quite a bit there that we use. We are in the middle of implementing Gong. I believe in sales coaching. I do believe that if you think about the idea of sales funnel, right? If you're funneling less through, if your conversion ratio is higher, you don't have to invest in more top line activity, which in COVID it's harder to biz dev, right? If you think about before, you can go out, you can knock on doors, you can network, you can go to events, you can go see people. During COVID, it's a lot harder. So you want to make sure you want to be efficient with every deal that you have coming through the pipeline. So a big thing for me is going to be um, using something like a listening tool to ensure everyone on the team is effective in when they do the pitch. And I mean, sometimes when you do technology implementation, it may or may not be even be a technology. One of the big push that we have going out with the client right now is for all our tech firm that that do demo. We're trying to encourage them to do what we call choose your own adventure deck, right? So it's not a technology, but it sort of allows this best practice around something like that to ensure that you have better conversion, right? Because then you drop better relevance to the people that you're talking to. So there's quite a bit involved. So I will send you guys a universe, and I will send you guys some of my favorites after.
Perfect. And that kind of relates to Geeta's question, because she was just asking if you have any particular recommendations for solos or partners. So I'm sure that will be included in the list for you, Geeta. Next question is from John. How often should you do a competitive analysis of your product?
I would say depend on your industry, because some industry are very fast paced, and you would know if you're in that kind of industry, you'll know that you'll need to do a competitive analysis every 6 months, even if it's that. I mean, I just told you, right? In the sales tech world, everything's either consolidating or moving forward. So you need to do that a bit more. But normally, I would say just my regular clients, we try to do a competitive analysis every 12 to 18 months, because it is a big exercise. It's a month-long undertaking. So I also don't want to be doing that all the time either. But so my answer is something between 6 months to 18 months, depending on how competitive your space is.
Right, I think those are all the questions we want to get to in this section. We want to make sure you get through all of your content.
Can I
All
just
right.
ask? Can I just ask one question relating to the CRMs? Is it better to go with one of these free, whether it's Zoho or HubSpot, or versus one of the old-fashioned, like an Act or a Maximizer, or one of those?
Okay. So if you're new to CRM, I wouldn't use Act or Maximizer. And I can tell you, I mean, we as a firm implement 7 different CRM. Okay. And at the end of the day, I have my favorites. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but CRM for CRM's sake, they all keep the same thing. I'm not too worried about the actual database of keeping client information. They all would do that, whether it's Act, whether it is HubSpot, whether it's Soho, whether it's Salesforce, Dynamics. They would all do that if you're getting down to the core of what a CRM is supposed to do. But the reason I wouldn't go with Act or Maximizer is because that's all they do. Versus if you think of something like a Soho, think of it like a Salesforce or a HubSpot, somewhat a Dynamic, depending on how number oriented you want an organization to be. They have additional features in their CRM that drive efficiency of your team. And if you do, one of the reasons I like Salesforce, aside from the fact that it's very expensive.
You just gave it away.
No, I said I like Salesforce. I like
Okay.
It's because if you, especially for small, mid-sized business, the idea of the Salesforce community is a powerful one, because as a small, mid-sized business owner, you don't have time to think about what technology, like you're not technology shopping, right? The idea of Salesforce community, what it does is you go to the app store, similar to your phone, right? You pick out the thing, I need a proposal add-on. I need a revenue optimization add-on. So you go to their app store and you sort of plug and play into your Salesforce. So, but don't forget, the reason why I don't like Salesforce though is also your $35, 100, depending on which level you're in, man, it adds up. Francesco's like, yeah, it adds up.
Yeah.
So, so you have to know what it is that you want in your CRM. Like when I talk a lot of, you guys mentioning, efficiency to automation tool. One of my favorite tool right now is actually HubSpot, because HubSpot actually have a lot of built-in workflow, a lot of built-in sequence, a lot of built-in automation that comes with your CRM, right? So there is, you have to know what is it that you're looking for. But back to what original question, database for database sake, they all do the same thing. So it depends on how you plan to use your CRM.
Okay, and just one other question in terms of business development. Years ago, sales was sales. You went from A to Z. Today, you've got your business development and then you've got your account executives. Which do you think is better, going from A to Z or having two separate people and other people then carrying on different parts of the sale?
That this is not going to be, I'm not quoting from a textbook. This is going to be quoting from my experience. In my opinion, I think it's hard for one person to be very good at business and very good at account management, because those are also fundamentally different. One is a hunting skill, one is a farming skill, right? So, but all of us run small and sized business here, so we don't have a luxury of hiring, two business development rep and two account manager, and I have like two customer success reps, and they all have different KPI. This goes bring business in, this person close them, and these people now upsell them, right? We just don't have the luxury. So a lot of time you try to look at the stage of your business. So I have clients that right now need to hunt. 80% of their revenue will come from new business. So I'm going to lean toward hiring someone with business experience over account management experience, because I'm going to make do because the rest of the team is so awesome to make sure that these customers are taken care of. Versus, I have also a client that is milking like I was talking to them the other day, I'm like, astounded. I'm like, how can it be possible that you guys don't need new sales? But 90% of their sales come from existing business that buy them repeatedly. So in their world, it's all about account management. They don't care to talk to me about business. They say, let's just tell them how to be better account manager, take care of my people, better customer success people, and that's all I care about. Don't talk to me about new business. I don't want any. I'm like, not talking about you don't want it. So it all comes down to you and what you need, because at the end of the day, we have finite resource. Cool, Marilyn? Awesome. All right. I promise I'll get you guys out of here at 7:30. I'm not really sure. You're right. These people are chatty. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about sales plan. And back to Rosa's question, here's some things that I think it's worth thinking about. Number one, I think long gone are the day that you believe you can sell somebody, right? When you're trying to sell people something, I want you guys to think of it slightly differently. It really is, how can I help my customer succeed? What kind of problem am I solving? Because, I even tell my sales guy, if you are selling them, then forget it. Right? I want you to ask enough questions to realize you're helping them with a problem, right? You're not going to succeed if you're pushing, and we're a big believer of change management. If there's nothing to change, move on. There are plenty of people that need sales help. I don't need to be helping somebody who don't believe they need help, right? If only you believe they need help, it's not significant, it's not enough. Right? So sales is all around helping your clients succeed and helping them solve their problem. So Rose, you asked, well, what is it that I need to work on? You know what? First things first, let's come up with your sales plan. So what are the different things in a sales plan? Number one, and everybody else, not just Rose, even if you have a business, what is your sales plan for next year? So number one, what is your objective? Number two, what is your high level tactics in order for you to achieve those objectives? 3, who is your target audience? Well defined. And number 4, what are your potential obstacles in you achieving your objective? Let's lay all those out. Here are some additional sections. If you really want to get into it, here are some additional sections that you might want to consider putting in the sales plan. Number 1, who is your target customer? And when we do it, we actually go as far as defining who the customer avatars are, because as we talk about that, then we want to hand over our customer avatar to my marketing counterpart to ensure they understand who they're talking to and be able to run an effective campaign off the customer avatar that we're targeting. After that, what is your revenue target? How much do you want to make, Rose? Let's make it together. 3, what is your strategy and tactic? How are you about doing it? Are you chasing after, like my ice cream person, right? Do you want to sell ice cream at the ballpark, at every ballpark? Because how you go about it doesn't mean you make less money, right? If you have an ice cream stand in every single ballpark in North America selling ice cream at the end of soccer practice, man, I bet you make a lot of money that summer, right? So, or do you want your ice cream on the shelf at Whole Food, right? What is your strategy in going to do so? And then based on that strategy, how are you going to execute? What is your tactics associated? Price and promotion. Are you really selling that ice cream for $14.99 when I can get the same tub for $2.99 if I, you know, what is the pricing strategy? I'm not saying no, because at the end of the day, some of you guys know some of our consultants, and if it's not expensive, we wouldn't buy it. So, there is a whole psychology around pricing and not discounting your product ever, and what that means when they attain that solution. So it's depending on the reason why they buy, but that's another lesson. So pricing and promotion, how are you planning to go to market with your price and promotion? Deadlines and directly responsible individual accountability, right? You have a strategy in place, you have tactics in place, who's executing? And even if you know who's executing, if you're not holding them accountable, it's as if you didn't have a plan. So what is that in terms of accountability? I hammered you earlier on about team structure, right? Who you have in place, and it could be you. It could be you putting on 7 hats, but make sure when you have your marketing hat on and you're talking to your operations hat, those internal conversations you have, because naturally my operations manager should be in conflict with my sales manager, right? My sales manager says, I want you to stock 7 different color of safety gloves, and my operations manager, are you nuts? I'm never going to be able to sell a dozen of these pink gloves that you want to sell because you want to sell a pair. So naturally, they're supposed to be in conflict. Have those healthy conversations. That conversation really went on with one of our safety equipment clients. So that's why it's top of mind. Resources, right? Who is there to do it, and what is the market condition? Right now, everyone's talking about COVID, but it isn't even so much. One of the messaging I've been really getting out there, back in March, April, May, we did a series about pandemic. What I've been trying to do this in the fall time is really about reset, right? We know the pandemic is here. We know there might be another lockdown in York or there's already a lockdown in various different parts of the world, in Toronto and Peel. Those are reality. Embrace it and move on and see how we can still not make yourself a victim. Because at the same time, I have a lot of people out there. It's funny, back in April, I always make fun of the people that selling PPE. Love them. I have clients that have nothing to do with PPE, did PPE in April because that's how they can survive. And you know what? That's what the market condition call for. Do it. Kudos to you, right? Don't be a victim of the market condition. Leverage it. Understand how to do so. Some sample growth strategy. Here I'm really talking about some fast growing sectors in terms of innovations and launching new products. But most business might opt for more gradual organic growth. That's okay too. Okay, guys? Not everybody needs to be in that double-digit growth trajectory. You want to sell more to existing customer. You want to attract new customers. You want to expand new channels, finding new partners, enter new market, introduce new product, introduce new technology, and create partnerships. Those are some fairly standard growth strategies. So some of you may or may not be familiar with setting goals. So I figure I'll put some sample goals here for you guys to think about. So a sample goal I put here as a reference was, you want to increase referral rate by 30%. You see that I was very particular, right? I didn't say increase sales by 30%, right? I want to increase referral rate by 30%. Okay, that's my strategy for growth. Okay, what is it that I want to do? Well, I want to run 3-day referral technique workshops with my sales reps. I want to hold sales contests for my rep around referral sales, right? I want to encourage my sales rep to do more referral sales. I'm gonna increase my commission for every referral sale by 5%, right? What is it that I'm doing tactically in order for me to hit my objective? Second one I put out here was acquiring 20 enterprise logo, right? Any startup wants an enterprise logo on their testimonial or on the customer list, because that helps solidify your credibility on the street, right? So an objective might be 20 enterprise logo. So number one, I want to identify 100 potential prospects, and maybe I want to assign a tiger team to each of those prospects and really go hard at those 100, regardless of my margin, right? The tiger team would be given specific margin to hit or not to hit and parameters as to how you close those 20 enterprise logos. You might want to hold 2 executive events of those with those potential prospects, see if they come, who's interested, who's not, do a demo, do a, before, do a meet and greet. What does that look like? And you might want to give a bonus to the first team that wins 3 logos, right? Once again, remember I hammer you guys on the idea of compensation. Sales people are commission driven. You can't deny it. People that are high base tend, sometimes, they're too comfortable. So actually, I hate giving high base, because when you're so well fed, if you're a tiger in out in the field, if you're well fed, what are the chances you're gonna go hunt? You won't, right? The idea of playing with base and commission is very important for the growth of your business. All right, I'm gonna take one small break here. Do we have any questions?
I have a question, if no one else wants to jump in. I have a question about the section on customer avatars and how to find specific demographics about your target customer. So I'm just having a challenge finding specific details, because when I think about my product, or I think about what I want to do, when you ask me what my target audience, it's easy to say it's everyone, because everyone can use it. But yes, I know that's not the right answer. So, and I know the right answer is to have a very specific target customer, but I'm having a challenge figuring out how specific and how narrow I want to be, and how to find supporting demographics. So for example, like your example about whatever the safety thing was, you want it in 6 colors. So how do you figure out what the colors that appeals to your demographic? Like, how do I think I'm not making myself clear, but I think you kind of get what I'm trying to get at.
No, I get what you're trying to get at. And I think the reason why it's so cloudy for you is because you don't have a value proposition. So
Okay.
when your value proposition is clear, then you'll know who best you should sell to, because you would have a sweet spot, right? Let's say it's ice cream, right? Let's say going back to my ice cream, I'm gonna pick on that guy again. So going back to my ice cream sample, he can tell me that ice cream is for everyone. It's true. Ice cream is for everyone. I mean, come on. I have 107 people in the room right now. How many of you absolutely swear off ice cream and said no ice cream?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's for everyone. Did I get any hands? I just want to see. I just want to make sure. Nobody of 107 people says that they'll swear off ice cream, because I'm diabetic, and once in a while I enjoy a treat, right? 3 months is not a long time, Samuel, but I agree with you. Right? So when you think about that, and frankly, I don't love ice cream either, partially because of my health. So, but I'm not going to swear off and say I'm never having ice cream, right? So when you think about that ice cream guy at whatever, $8.99, $12, $14.99, whatever, right? I can tell you it's not for everyone, right? If he tells me that his ice cream is for everyone, then it's wrong, because the value proposition of his ice cream, if I'm not mistaken, was because he used a special Greek yogurt that is not available everywhere. And that was a base ingredient, which makes it not fattening, not as what oil, not as whatever that he was trying to sell. That's his value proposition, right? And hence, there is going to be certain demographic in that world of 106 that will pay that premium price. Probably me if I want ice cream, because I only have that ice cream once every 6 months, right? And if I want to stay healthy and not get in trouble with my doctor, and I want that treat, I'm going to pay that whatever $14.99 for that once in every 6 months. I'm going to have ice cream because of my condition. So you're going to look at it and you're like, okay, maybe then my demographic is people with diabetes that use it as a treat. I can tell you that's not a good strategy, because they're also not only having one tub every 6 months, right? So you really have to look at your value proposition, look at where is the biggest bang for your buck, and be able to target those people. I'm not saying it's not for everyone. I'm just saying as you run each campaign, make sure you're very targeted. Otherwise, your marketing dollar will go in the wash if you're targeting too many people. It's just all that is when we talk about avatar is that it's about efficiency, right?
Okay.
And I see we have a question from Sandra. And Sandra, it is a bit of a long question, so feel free to chime in at any time if you want to add anything. But I'll read the question. So Sandra says, I'm still a little unclear how I see my business and its place in the industry. I know I want to sell art prints and I also want to sell clothes. Should I be doing separate assessments between art sales and textile retail? And also, I want to offer commission. Should I have a hierarchy to define how much I want to focus on and where I want the most sales to come from?
Okay, so if it's me, because everyone do it differently, but I'm going to give you my opinion. If I would treat the art print and clothes completely separate, because I would actually think that your customer avatar for art print might be completely separate than your clothes. If it happens to align, good for you, right? But let's treat them as separate, at least to start, so that you are not limiting to thinking that they will fall into the same customer that you want to sell to, because I think that it limits your business if you do that. In terms of commission and how you want to go to market and your distribution channel, I need to understand your setup before I can tell you a bit more. So if you stay behind, maybe we can talk a little bit about that.
Perfect. So we have another question from Linda, and Linda's asking, what's enterprise logo?
So I can tell you, because it's very applicable for us. At all costs, I wanted an enterprise logo on the Change Connect website as the customer, right? When we first start, because we are a small firm out of Markham. So like, who the hell are you, right? Why would I trust you to train my people? I am a $2 billion business, or what, 10 million. 10 million is a little small now, but I'm on whatever. 2 billion is my latest question. So 2 billion of it. Why would I do that? Right? You're this little firm out of Markham, right? So one of the first things we did when we were in a position to do so was no matter at what cost, we wanted to put Rogers on our roster of clients that we had in the past. So we did. We chased after some of the bigger guys, make sure that we have done work for them. So we implemented Salesforce at Rogers Media. So when someone comes to me and say, hey, can you implement CRM? Well, we implemented for 725 people at Rogers Media. Is anyone going to question that I can't implement it at a 10 people firm, 50 people firm, 75 people firm? They're not. That's a power of an enterprise logo, is it comes with credibility. Some people might want to do it at all costs. Some people might not. So you have to evaluate where you are in your business to see whether you want it at all costs. But it is nice to, regardless of your sector, majority of our sales is in small mid-sized business, but regardless of your sector, it's still nice to have a couple of enterprise logo on there if you can afford it. But I can tell you, a lot of people think that doing enterprise sales, like selling to enterprise, you get bigger margin. I can tell you, they squeeze you even more. So don't be mistaken that you're chasing after enterprise logo because you make more money. Because I can tell you, those procurement teams, they're good.
I think those are all the questions that I see in the chat for now. So I'll let you move on to our next section.
I have 10 minutes, eh? Let me see. Let me see what I can
I
do.
don't know if we're going to do it. I told you there would be
and you warned
tons.
me. And you
I
warned
know,
me.
I
That's
knew there would be
true.
tons of questions. We always get so many audience interaction, which is great.
It's great. It's great. No, I'm loving it. So allows me to have a little fun too at it, not just boring reading off the deck. So thank you everybody for being so engaged. Next section, we're talking about investigating into growth. So I want to talk about different ways of investigating into growth. But before I talk about growth, I really wanted to talk about the whole idea of B2B to C sales. So I know some of you guys are in B2C sales, which is business to customer sales. So let's not, trust me, I won't take too long here. But if you're in the world of offering business to a business that offer their goods to a customer, I really want you to think about this value equation, especially in the dead heat of COVID. Before, I was preaching this a lot because as a B2B business, I sell to businesses. I really have to get ahead of what my clients value to their customers and really get ahead of it and be there for me to really help them out and think ahead of them, really engaging to see what is it that they are going to do. So for example, one of our customers, Naturally North, they sell to a local grocery store here in Markham called Winco. And they have their customer, what is it that they're looking for? What is the marketing message at the, in April, when people are not going outside at all, right? They're going to grocery store because they have to. So what is the messaging that they want to give to a customer, and really strategize around, how a company can help their customer to be better at their customer. Same with Envision. Envision is a local marketing firm. Their customer is Village Grocer, which is a local grocery store. How Envision help Village Grocer, not just to market, but really help them out to solve their client's problem around social distancing when you're here, really having the procedures online, really communicating the fact that, what is their cleanliness and what is their procedure, what is their customers' concern about coming to shop during this time. Q is another marketing agency. They work with Scotia, a particular division of Scotia, really helping Scotia anticipate what is their customers' challenge. But my thing here is, a lot of times as you think about your value proposition to your client, I sometimes don't think nowadays, especially if you're in the B2B sales world, that may or may not be enough anymore. So really peel another layer of the skin of the onion and really think about what can you do with your client to provide even more value to the end user. But what I want to talk about today in terms of growth is I want you to think about growth in this way. Everyone laughs when I put everything in a 2x2 matrix because that's so consulting of us. But funny enough, all world's problem, according to business students, can be solved in a 2x2 matrix. So let's start. If you look at how we look at how a company can grow, there really is only in this, according to this model, two ways, right? You can either work within your existing market, or you can develop into a new market. And from a product standpoint as well, you can sell your existing product or you have new product, right? And then based on this, you have 4 scenarios of growth that we can as a strategy that we can chase after. So number 1, you only want to play in your existing market, and you only want to play in your sell your existing product. In that world, if you want your organization to grow, you need market penetration. If you have 10% of the market share right now, you want 20%, right? How are you going to do that? Marketing, outreach, cold call, whatever it is to penetrate the market, that is going to be your strategy. You got to think about what are the tactics associated. The other way of doing it is, you know what, Agnes, I want to sell my existing product. I love my existing product. I'm passionate about it. This is what I want to sell. Growth, maybe sell to another market, where I'm talking to a lot of clients about going to the States. Partially it's because there's a lot of government funding to go in the States, or pretty much any exporting right now. But also, how can we sell our existing product to new market? There, you have to develop a market development strategy. Okay. Now, looking at the other side of the axis, if I want to sell to existing customer, but I want to sell them new product, right? I'm increasing my lifetime value of customer and I'm increasing average deal size. Now, if that's the case, they love and trust us already. What else do they need, right? Really is sensitive to our clients' need to see what other products can we also sell them, right? Product development. You don't always have to develop the product. A lot of times when we work with marketing firm, I always say, hey, you know what? Why talk to a video production house? Because a lot of times now, marketing and video come hand in hand. So if you are able to white label a production house work, then on top of it, you enjoy a 30% margin, and you now offer another extra service that is honestly at no risk to you. So when you talk about product development, it may be just strategically align yourself with others that offers product that you might need. You may not actually need to do R&D altogether. Last but not least, my PPE example, new market, new product, right? Diversification. If whatever you're offering right now may or may not provide you the growth, maybe you do have to go outside your existing product, existing market in order for you to find growth. The example I always use is my friends at Rogers over there. If you think about it, traditionally they are a cable, they are a media, and they are a telephone company, right? That's their bread and butter. If you think about it, I don't know if you guys noticed, in order for them to, and cable, let's be honest. Actually, I really want to see this. How many of you guys, actually, because my husband just asked me last night, how many of you guys still have cable in your house? Oh, no. Okay. Because my husband asked me last night, I think it's time for us to cut cable. And I'm like, no. So, if you think about it, Rogers have diversified over the last few years as well, right? If you think about it, I don't know if you guys know, there's a Rogers Bank. There are Rogers credit cards, right? If you don't know, what is another product that's actually pretty successful right now that they have also launched probably within the last 2 or 3 years, 4 years maybe? Do you know? Nothing to do with phone and cable. Anybody? Home security. Bang on, right? So what they're doing there is exactly what we just talked about. Big business, small business, everyone use the same idea in terms of how do you diversify your risks, right? Home security. We are coming in at the end of one section. Any questions so far? I do have an advice for you guys though, for any small mid-sized business guys. We only have limited resource. So a lot of times when we talk about growth, I'm going to suggest that you concentrate on one quadrant at a time and not sort of sprinkle your resources everywhere. If you want to do market development, let's do market development. If you want to do market penetration, do market penetration. If you want to do product development, do product development. But stick with that strategy that you believe in, because I can tell you it might actually be worse if you scatter your resource amongst the three, because you might not get to your end goal because you run out of resources. If it makes any sense.
I see Rose has a question. Rose, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, so I just want to understand, I just want to see whether I understood what market development was all about. Is that the same as developing a new customer avatar? Is that what you mean by that? Where you would take an existing product into a new market, or did I miss that totally?
So market development is, I'll give you a classic example of market development. So, right, I'll give you just a regular example. So, we are homegrown. So we are a York region sales consultancy. And for the longest time, we for whatever reason, our business came within the New York region. And one particular year, we decided, you know what, we gotta leave the York region footprint. Not that we don't love York region, we still love York region, but we're also starting to see a lot of business over at the Peel region. There's a lot of companies out in Mississauga that we wanted to chase after. So that particular year, we ran a campaign around how do we actually get more business outside the York region. So when you talk about market penetration, it is about growing your footprint a bit bigger with your existing product line. A lot of time, and in your world could be just a different avatar. So now let's say your ice cream, you are, let's say in that example, your original avatar that you're chasing after, you're chasing after diabetics, right? But then maybe then you're chasing after people that have Peloton because they are gym freaks. They are working out every day. They are going to, maybe they would, and if they have money to buy a Peloton bike, then likely they're going to spend money on whatever $8.99 ice cream tub, as long as it is healthy, branded healthy, right? So there's so it's about how can you take your existing product going outside your existing market, and then what's the campaign around really, you know, it could be a geographical footprint, it could be a different use case to go open up new markets for your product.
Okay.
I am going to be close to 7:30, so.
All right, that's what I thought it was. So, and you explained that. So that's a clear explanation. Thank you.
No worries. No worries. I'm here to help. Last but not least, and this section is actually our quickest section.
Agnes, we just have 2 more questions in the chat. Do you want to get them in the next section?
I will get them. I'll get them now.
Okay, so this one's from MC. Agnes, in your previous section, you mentioned Tiger Team. What's the difference in salesperson technique and personality among Tiger Team versus Hunter Team versus Farmer Team?
Tiger Team have nothing to do with hunter or farmer, guys. When I put a Tiger Team in place, it's like a SWAT team. So very targeted team among a sub team of my main team that's just going to do this one task for me. I'm putting a squad team together pretty much.
Okay. And sorry, something else to add?
Nope.
Okay, and Enza is, I guess this is a question. So I'm still in the business plan phase, and someone told me to include other products in the 2nd or 3rd year projections. I guess he's asking, is that correct?
It depends on your growth plan, babe. So it's hard for me to just tell you without understanding what is your business and how to go about it. But it could be, because it is a very viable way of growing a business. If you think about, you know, growing your business and adding new revenue, I don't want to say simple, but if you have a very loyal customer base, the easiest way to grow, not easy, but easier way to grow your business is understanding what that avatar is like and what additional service can you buy from them. Because if they already love and trust you, it's easier for them to buy you again, and or buy you more, or buy, it's like Apple product, right? I don't know how many of you guys are Apple junkies, but you know what? If Apple comes up with, if Apple have a car out tomorrow, I bet you, I don't know anyone here, but someone's going to buy the Apple car, right? Say my name.
Yes. Yeah, I'm hi, Agnes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a teacher and I want to start a educational services company. So my question was really, I have many ideas, but I'm focusing on reading. And so people have told me, don't put the other subjects that you want to teach in your plan yet. You could put that in the 2nd or 3rd year projection. That's what I meant, that if I want to do science later on, let's say.
Yes.
Because I know
That would make
parents will
sense.
be asking for that. STEM is big, right? But I do want to focus on reading. So I didn't even think I had to put that in the business plan, but you're saying it's okay, right? Because this is part of the bigger picture. Obviously the sales are important. I need to have this plan in place right from the start.
Well, I would put it in the plan because that's what you're thinking right now. But don't forget, and that it's going to change, right? But the reason why it should be in the plan, though, when you're doing it, is if you think about it. Let's say I'm going to take an average Kumon cost, right? Let's say $150 per month per kid, right? For one subject. So if you're able to offer STEM now, it's $300 per kid. So when you do your projection, it's fundamentally different numbers, right? Let's say you have X number of kids. Let's say 50% of the kids also take science with you. Now the average deal size changed. So that's where
Yes.
the projection comes in. When you plan is, you know, those second products, especially in your world for sure.
Right.
If I'm taking my kid to read, I'm gonna, you know, if you also offer STEM services, then it would make sense.
Yes.
I can
Okay, great.
exactly see why that person told you that.
So I need to get someone good with numbers to help me with that as well. Thanks.
You know in your gut. You know in your gut. Okay, so last but not least, this one is an interesting one, but won't take us too long to talk about. Is the idea of getting buy-in, right? Who else you need to communicate your plan to, whether that's your partner, whether it's an employee, whether that's your vendor. Because if you're expecting your vendor to execute on your dream, if you don't communicate with them, how do you know? And I always use this one slide. You know, you have something to sell, or you know, you have an idea, you have a dream, whatever it is. You know, I have two guys. I have a civil engineering background. I don't know if I told you guys already about this. So you know, when you look out, my guy on my yellow hat guy on the right is like, oh, I see dirt. I see dirt. I see now another 18 months of dirt and coming to this site, and oh, I see work, right? But my guy on my guy on the left with the red hat is like, man, I see skyrise. I see this. I see that. It's gonna be so beautiful, and there's gonna be all these people coming, and they're gonna enjoy the building I just built. And you know, fundamentally, that's what communication is. Is, you know, two guys talking, and really they're standing in front of the same piece of land, guys, but they see two different things. And for you to be a leader, and I think one of the most important things when you're a leader is the ability for you to communicate your dream to the next person beside you and be able to convince them to see your dream as well, whether that's employee, vendor, whoever it is, because the more people that you're able to share your dream with, the more you can leverage other people to help you execute that dream. If they're in the dark, if they don't know what you're doing, if the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing, it's really, really tough to get help. And frankly, entrepreneurship is lonely. You want that help, right? You want to be able to have someone you can talk to. So be able to communicate and really have fun with it, right? I'm not going to get to the bonus section, but next time. So let me wrap it up a little bit, and then I will stay to take all the questions you guys need. Okay? So I'm not rushing, but I do think some people have to go. So I was going to play a game with guys about sales best practices. So let's not do that, guys. Maybe in the chat or unmute your mic. What is your biggest takeaway today? Share that with me, right? We spent an hour and a half together. I want to know that it was an effective use of your time. What are you going to, first of all, what did you learn new, right? Perhaps you can share that. And number two, more importantly for me, is how are you going to change your behavior tomorrow? What did you learn today that you're going to, I really got to get that done tomorrow? Anyone want to share? I'm going to pick on people.
Don't be shy. We had so many questions come in.
Oh, come on. You guys learned nothing?
Oh,
David,
I
I'm
see
never doing
something
this
from
again.
Rose here. Biggest takeaway, difference between marketing and sales.
Okay.
Matthew, consider enterprise logo for website.
And value proposition, the difference between account management and business development. Good. Excellent. How's it going to change your behavior though? What are you going to do differently?
Lori says, invest in a CRM now.
Yes.
Change behavior and define value proposition.
Good. Guys, give me a thumbs up if at least you're shy, but you learned something. You're going to take away something with you today. Okay. Good.
I see Will says, biggest takeaway is how important performance reviews are and in terms of hiring sales associates. It's important to remember to quiz them on basic sales skills.
Yeah. True enough. Value proposition. I don't disagree, guys. You don't have a leg to stand on. If you're selling a product for the sake of selling product, today is tough. All right. So my closing remark, couple of things. Number one, guys, add me on LinkedIn. I actually think I might be one of the only few Agnes Land around. So I'm actually not going to be that tough to find. So add me on LinkedIn. I post whenever I can on some sales best practices. So do add me. You know, if you have any question there, chat me there. All good. The other thing also is if you want to be on our monthly newsletter, I do send out sales tips. So if you do, just maybe leave your email on the chat, and then I'll grab your email from there as consent to send stuff out to you. Then I will get you on our monthly mailing list. Thanks so much, guys. I enjoy being here too, guys.
Thank you so much, Agnes, for your time and teaching us so many great things about sales and all of your resources and tips and everything. We really do appreciate it. So thank you so much for that. And to everyone, I do want to thank you all for attending. This is our second last session in the series. So we are going to be closing it up soon. But I do want to remind you that we do have one more session coming up next week, and that is all about pitching and storytelling. So that's happening at the same time next week on Thursday. I will be sending out a list of resources along with all of the slides that we have for today. So you'll have all of that with you. And I did send the link to our survey as well. If you can take a minute just to complete that, that would be great. But thank you, everyone. Thank you for attending, and we hope to see you again for our last session next week. Take care.